I don't think it's happening. I don't. I think there's a less chance of KD getting traded than Kyrie. I think Kyrie has a better chance of being traded than KD. But again, when you look at the picture right now where KD is and where the Nets are falling apart as an organization, and everything's starting to tumble. This happened with Billy King. This same thing happened with Billy King. Billy King built a team, a young team. Then he decides to bring in pieces and makes that trade with the Celtics. It ruined the Nets for the future. The Celtics get Jaylen Brown. They get Jason Tatum. Their future with all those draft picks, that draft stock that they got from the Nets, it helps them go to the finals this year. And the Nets, again, do the same thing, trading for James Harden, trading away Karis LeVert, guys that they drafted, Allen, and all the pieces that Spencer Dinwiddie, when Marks found him when he came in, they're all gone. You bring in Kyrie, KD, and then James Harden, and you thought you were going to win multiple championships, and you couldn't even. You only won 13 games out of 16 times that they played together. Who would have thought that in 2 years?
Great football team.
I feel tremendously bad for those who are season ticket managers and season ticket
holders
for the Brooklyn Nets, because you're going to have some angry fans calling and emailing tomorrow asking how they can get their money back. I don't even know how you go on as a franchise. You had James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, and you couldn't win a title. You couldn't even get out of the second round of the playoffs.
We are talking to Painted Line 76ers and NBA reporter and writer Austin Krell.
So do you think that model that the Nets are going to do is going to be basically the new what not to do if you're an NBA team, and you'll never see that kind of thing again? Or do you think some other team is going to be drastic enough, or I shouldn't say drastic, desperate enough where they kind of try that scenario to save themselves right now?
I actually think we've kind of seen something of an expiration date on the star-studded teams, like where you have 2 to 3 stars, whatever. I think what we're seeing is teams are kind of like, hey, we need to have depth. We can't have 3 guys that are awesome and then a bunch of scrubs making out the rest of the roster. It doesn't work like that anymore. I think as the league has gravitated more towards wings that are versatile on defense, the fatigue on offense hits a little harder and a little easier now. And so you need reinforcements and depth behind your stars that is adequate. And if you have 3 all-stars, the simple rules of salary caps that the NBA has say you can do that, but you're not going to have much more space beyond that to put forth an adequate roster.
Austin, you look at all these teams and you talk about the Lakers. They look like they have maybe 1 year, if one more year left with LeBron James. LeBron James said already that he's not signing his extension until the Lakers he makes the moves that he believes is going to take that team to a championship competitive team. We all know the story. He has done so many interviews the last couple of weeks saying that he wants to play with his son. The last 2 years of his career, last year of his career, wants to play with his son. So wherever his son goes, is probably where he is going. If you were the Lakers right now and you had LeBron James have the season that he had, don't you think they should trade him this offseason and get as much as you possibly can back for him and rebuild with Anthony Davis?
Do you know you're aware it's LeBron James, right? It's LeBron James. I don't think that you can market very well selling that you traded LeBron James. That the guy is arguably, maybe even at this point, inarguably, the greatest player of all time.
Well, he's not. I mean, Michael Jordan's the greatest, but
we'll see about that one. It's a good theory.
He's the greatest player of all time. These guys couldn't touch Michael Jordan if they played in the time Michael Jordan played. I mean, it's ridiculous to even compare it. That's why when everybody's comparing Steph Curry to the point guards of the 80s and the 90s, even the 70s, it's ridiculous. Because if Steph Curry played in the 90s the way they were playing and defending against point guards, he wouldn't be Steph Curry. He wouldn't be as good as he is.
I'll tell you, I do love that guys are in the Hall of Fame after they put up 40 points, 13 rebounds, and 12 assists against a guy who just got off his shift as a local janitor. So, I mean, that's what the 70s were, right? I mean, the 60s, 70s, the league was, it was a bunch of freaks of nature against guys who had day jobs. Come on. Steph Curry is a top 5 point guard of all time. Let's not.
He's not. He's not.
Oh, easily is.
He's not.
He absolutely is.
Why? Because he won 4 titles?
Yeah, he's won 4 titles.
He's won 4 titles. Okay, and
how many has Chris Paul won?
First of all,
here we go again.
First of all, don't bring up Chris Paul now, because Chris Paul has never played for an elite team like Golden State has been year in and year.
He's played on the
Who?
The Phoenix Suns were favored to get to the finals the last 2 years.
The Suns. DeAndre Ayton, that Suns, or just Booker. Devin Booker wasn't 100% healthy throughout the playoffs.
They got to the finals. They were in 10 and 2-0 lead in the finals.
You think that was a great team when they went to the finals last year?
They were in the finals.
So what? The Western Conference wasn't as great as it was the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years when they were dominant. Yes, it does matter.
If Steph Curry is not a top,
Steph Curry didn't make anybody better. When Steph Curry lost Klay Thompson and he only had Draymond Green, did they make the playoffs?
No, you can't lose one player.
No. How about this? If you put LeBron James on that team, do they make the playoffs?
Probably not.
They do.
They probably don't.
They do.
They probably don't.
They do. Come on, Austin. You can't sit here and tell me. Now, I'm not saying Steph Curry isn't a great player. He's a fantastic player. One of the greatest three-point shooters. He is the greatest three-point shooter we've ever seen. But to say he's a top 5 point guard of all time is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I'll do you one better. He might be better than Magic Johnson.
You're crazy. He's not even close.
Who's the greatest point guard of all time?
How old are you, Austin?
I'll be 26 this month.
You're 26 years old. Did you ever watch Magic Johnson play at the time, even at all, when you were a youngster?
No, that dude couldn't shoot. This one can.
The game was different. Michael Jordan wasn't a great three-point shooter, but when he needed to hit three-pointers in the playoffs, he hit 9 in a row. So you can't sit here and tell me that if Michael Jordan needed to shoot threes in this time, he couldn't do it. Because if he's shooting 400 or 500...
You can't prove that he could.
What do you mean I can't prove? I can prove Michael Jordan could. I could. He hit 9 3-pointers in a row. He had the record.
It was
he didn't have to, Austin. He didn't have to. The game was different. They ruined the game. You're going to tell me Steph Curry didn't ruin the game of basketball?
He made it better.
He made it worse.
He made it way better.
He made it worse. How is shooting three-pointers, and when teams are shooting 35% on the field, better? How does that make it better?
You're telling me that Steph Curry made the game worse?
Made it worse. The Golden State Warriors made it worse.
Wait. You're saying that the fact that players now tend to take 2 steps further back on the court when they shoot.
2 steps? Are you kidding me? 2 steps? A lot more than 2 steps.
The point is a mid-range jump shot to a 3-point shot. You're
Yeah.
telling me that span of space is what has made the game worse.
Absolutely, because you have players that are not good. You have big men that have to shoot threes now, and it ruins the game for the big men. The big men was the big men in the 80s and the 90s were the dominant position. It was the dominant position. Now you have point guards and guards chucking up threes. Now you have forwards, big shooting threes. And if you can't do that, you can't succeed in the NBA. You had Dwight Howard, who was a dominant force, in the early 2000s, and then all of a sudden it became a 3-point league, and Dwight Howard falls off the face of the earth. Okay? Shaquille O'Neal, who's the most dominant force at his position for 7 years? If he played this time, he wouldn't even be the player that he was.
Okay. Who is the greatest big man of all time?
Who's the greatest?
If you say it's Wilt Chamberlain.
I didn't say Wilt Chamberlain.
I would do Tim Duncan for me.
No, that was...
Or Kareem. Actually, Kareem. Kareem for me.
Who is the greatest big man? Well, Bill Russell won so many rings. I mean, he was a great defender.
God.
But I didn't say Bill Russell. Hey, but again, you're laughing. You know who I think the greatest big man I seen? Steph Curry couldn't even touch.
You're going to say Shaq.
No. Well, he's there. Yeah, Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay. I would argue that Shaq wasn't even that talented.
Oh, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy.
What was his talent? Just physically bruising everybody?
Physically dominant in the paint. You can stop him.
But what was his bat?
He was the most dominant player on those championship teams. It's not even close.
He had a tremendous handle, I would say. But besides that, what was the difference between him being like a linebacker in the NFL and him being just a bruiser in the paint? That's all he was. He was a bruiser. He was a bruiser who had benefited from the rules of the time.
Oh, so the rules at the time, because the rules were there for like 70 years, and now all of a sudden the rules changed in 2004, 2005 to a shooting league, to a baby league where you could put a pinky on somebody and it's a flagrant foul, and it's better? You make that game better? It's boring.
I will agree with you on this.
It's baby. You know what the game should become? It should be NBA Jam, okay? Because that's what it should be.
It's a good game.
Change the game to that, because it's a clown game now. I don't even watch the regular season anymore. Basketball is a clown game. It's a bunch of clown babies that kiss each other's you-know-what. That's what it is.
I will say this. The whole flagrant thing is a joke. It's gotten out of control. That's for sure.
It's a baby game, Austin. It's a bunch of babies jumping around, hanging out with buddies. It's not... When in the 80s and the 90s, you had enemies. You had the bad boy Pistons. You had the Chicago Bulls. You had the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat, the Celtics. They hated each other. That's what made the game fun. Now you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green opening their big mouths, thinking that they're going to cause trouble. When these guys have been kissing ass since they came into the game, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I can't stand watching these three idiots dance around the court like they're the best of the best, because that team couldn't shine the Chicago Bulls in the 90s cleats or sneakers or whatever you want to say. They couldn't shine their shoes. It's ridiculous. And if they played against Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Dennis Rodman and that team, they wouldn't stand a chance in a 7-game series.
Which Warriors team? The one that just won?
Any of those Warrior teams.
Oh, my God. Tell me the Kevin Durant Warriors wouldn't have whacked.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, my God.
Not at all. That just shows you how young you are.
The Kevin Durant Warriors are the greatest team of all time.
No, they're not.
It's far.
No, they're not. How about the Celtics in the 80s? The Showtime Lakers? How about the bad boy Pistons? How about the Chicago Bulls of the 90s? In that 98, 97 team, they were dominant. Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, Ron Harper. Ron Harper was one of the best defenders at his position throughout the league.
If any of those players encountered one of Steph Curry or one of Kevin Durant, they would have needed new underwear. They would not have known what to do with them.
What are you talking about? Kevin Durant, Scottie Pippen was one of the best defenders of his position of all time. He would have defended Kevin Durant very well. Long and athletic, absolutely. Michael Jordan would have shut down Steph Curry. Shut him down like a baby boy, you know what. All right? And Klay Thompson, give me a break. All right? Dennis Rodman would have dominated him anytime he tried to chuck up a three. All right? Yeah. What are you talking about? Oh, my God, what? Ron Harper could have defended Steph Curry. He could have defended any guard that they had. Poole, he would have defended him too.